Walking through the forgotten garden. It seems like rain's gonna fall. Leaves are dancing gracefully. I'm in a peaceful state of mind. Sometimes you need to think of what you really want in your life. But sometimes you just need to listen to the voice of your heart. Walking through the forgotten garden. It's a little time for me. Cleaning my thoughts from the past crazy weeks. Relearning how to breathe. Sometimes you need to think of what you really want in your life. But sometimes you just need to listen to the voice of your heart. Walking through the forgotten garden. The wind on my back. Walking through the forgotten garden. The echoes of heaven are calling me back. Sometimes you need to think of what you really want in your life. But sometimes you just need to listen to the voice of your heart. The voice of your heart.
Pass you off or you play it around, Peter? Mate.
Oh. Alright, give him some.
Holla, holla. Thank you. Ready, go, go, go.
Okay.
Where's Beals? Come on, Beals.
Come on, Piggles.
Come on, Beals.
Come on, Piggles.
Okay, champion night. Okay.
Okay, let's wave. Wow, this is unbelievable.
Look how big those tits are.
Oh, they're going across the road, Peter.
It's alright. Shit. There might be a bull. No, it isn't.
I think maybe you better stop.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Wow, this is unbelievable. The dogs are asleep. Oh my God, they'd go crazy.
There we go. Oh, they know where they're going. Look into the gate.
Oh, it's adorable. It's adorable.
Okay.
Cool. So the very next day, after we had the warning that the border was going to shut, we packed everything up and scooted across the border to stay overnight in New South Wales. And by that time, Peter had bought a four-wheel drive. So he was towing the caravan with that. And his car was actually on the Victorian side of the border. And he decided he better go back and get it over in New South Wales the next morning. And so he set over the bridge to get it. And when he came back with the car, he said, "Marianne, it's just so frightening. There's all these mounted police on the bridge. It's unbelievable." Very scary, the whole thing, actually. You know, like suddenly you'd be a criminal if you walked across the bridge. And we had even heard stories of like husbands and wives getting separated, one being on one side of a border and the other on the other. It really was bad. So we didn't have any plans. We didn't know what we were doing. We just didn't want to get stuck somewhere. And we actually had heard that in when we were in Melbourne that possibly the lockdown could last. So we had heard that the lockdown could possibly last up to 8 months when we were in Melbourne. And we didn't want to get stuck anywhere for 8 months. We would just go through all of our money, you know, it'd be crazy. So we pressed down to Bateman's Bay to see a friend that we hadn't seen in 20 years. And that was the only goal that we had in mind at that point. We actually really liked Bateman's Bay and considered staying there. But of course, something happened there too. Peter took me out for my birthday, and on that day, just across the road at the Soldiers Club, where thank God we didn't end up going there, a bubble started. And the rumor was that the town would go into lockdown suddenly. So it was just a shame. We had to hurry up and leave the next day, and we kept heading north. It was just crazy the way, you know, we had to just keep going and going. We were tired. We bypassed Sydney because there was bad rumors in Sydney by that point, and we decided to drive up to Port Macquarie. But after we were there for just a couple of nights, at 5 p.m., I heard on the radio that the suburb just behind us was going through a snap lockdown. So, of course, we had to pick up and leave from there. Peter was really tired because we heard that about 5 o'clock at night one night. but we decided to press on that night to Byron Bay because we wanted to get up to the New South Wales border, because by that point it was rumored that the Queensland border was going to close down, and we didn't want to be stuck in New South Wales. So we ended up getting to Byron's Bay at midnight that night. And the next morning, it was pretty definite that the border was going to shut in one day. And we decided to leave Byron Bay then. It was kind of a cool campground that we were at. There were like these wild turkeys running around, which my dogs just loved. So the next morning, we pressed on to Queensland. And it was a good thing we did go a day ahead of time because we avoided the rush. Apparently, it was really bad at the last minute. And we kept on heading north in our tiny little home, just staying for a day or two here and there as lockdowns, well, they literally were chasing us up the coast. And there's my two boys, my favorite boys. Peter kept on working in a tent that he set up. He had an online job at the time. And it was kind of crazy because every time we would go somewhere, we'd leave about 5 in the morning. We'd arrive at the campsite about 7 a.m. And Peter would have to set up the whole caravan. He'd do the pop top thing really quick. And of course, inside the caravan, everything would have been thrown around all over the place. And I'd watch the dogs while he did that. And then at 8 a.m., he had to hurry up and get on his online conference call, which happened every morning at 8 a.m. So let's see what was next. Oh, yeah. So after that, we ended up driving to Brisbane as soon as we got across the Queensland border. And we were so relieved when we got across there because, of course, you know, as the cars were coming up to the policeman, it was nighttime. And he was just directing traffic. And everybody, he was saying, okay, go ahead, go ahead. And with us, it was like this flashlight going to the left, like, you, get over there. It was horrible. And it was only because we were from Victoria. So we were interrogated for like 20 minutes, with the dogs in the car. And it was terrible. He looked at us and said, where were you on this date? And thank God it happened to be the day before my birthday. So I knew exactly where we were and what we were doing. And, after 20 minutes of questions, all of a sudden he looks at us and says, well, welcome to Queensland.
Wow, nice, Peter.
It was such a relief. It was just terrible. We were so worried because we thought, oh my God, if he doesn't let us in, they're going to take the dogs and they're probably going to put us in quarantine or something. Not that we had done anything wrong, but everything was going crazy at that point. You just didn't know what to expect anywhere. So we drove to Brisbane, and that's where Peter's brother lived. So it was really nice. We got to see him for a couple of days. And then, of course, something happened in a shopping center there. And we had to keep going. We had to get out of Brisbane quick. And we drove up to Rainbow Beach, Tin Can Bay, Harvey Bay. And within 2 weeks, we reached Arley Beach.
It's gorgeous.
Sunday's the night, but when you watch that,
Yeah. The trouble is, how long do you got? It's just too much.
maybe I'll take it out. Wow, some big cruises already.
Oh my gosh.
These
So
suckers
beautiful.
here.
I can't believe it. I know. It's gorgeous.
Huge catamaran. Wow. Huh?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
These
So
suckers here.
beautiful. I can't believe it. I know. It's gorgeous. good to know.
Oh my gosh. Oh, okay, I'll go. I'm going now. Okay, goodbye. Goodbye. Oh shit. I think I said that Peter had never towed a caravan before. And the day that we left Melbourne and we drove to Wakakiti Creek in the national park, it was pouring rain the whole day, terrible weather. We arrived in the dark at 7 p.m. at night. We got lost in the forest, and there were literally dozens of kangaroos flying across the road right in front of us. And we were so scared in case, one hit us and went through the windshield. So, it was really scary. And the caretaker of the park actually came out to look for us on the road, and they were flashing lights so that we would see them. So, anyway, back to our story in Queensland. So, the further north that we went, the prettier it got. It was just gorgeous, getting very tropical. And we were in Cairns for I think it was I liked Cairns. It was very nice. But I think we were kind of secretly looking for a home. We had heard that Queensland was much freer, and that's why we kept going north. But, it wasn't really the case. Things just seemed to keep following us up the coast. And we knew that Cairns wasn't ultimately where we wanted to be. So then we ended up going to, oh gosh, what was the name of it? It was, hold on a second, it's just flashed on my screen. Oh, Palm Cove. Yes, that was absolutely beautiful. And we stayed there for a week. Um, but it was a bit small. Even though we loved it, it still wasn't exactly what we wanted. So there was only really one more place to go from Palm Cove, and that was Port Douglas. So we pressed on to Port Douglas, and oh my gosh, when we got to Port Douglas, well, all you could say was, wow. It was like so gorgeous. It was the type of place that you imagine a postcard would be like. But when you go traveling, quite often the places are never quite as good as what you had hoped. Well, Port Douglas just bowled us over. We just fell in love with it totally. It was so beautiful, so tropical. And we were in a caravan park there for a week, and I had absolutely had it with caravanning. I couldn't stand it anymore. So we rented a townhouse across the street from the caravan park, and it was a great location. It was about a block from the main road where the restaurant strip was, and absolutely loved it there. We were there for a little over 5 months, and yeah, we went to all the little restaurants. Um, One of them was called the Tin Shed, and I remember Peter looking at me when we were there, and he said, "You know, Marianne, I've got this weird feeling that we're going to move on, and when we move on, it's going to be right across the ocean." And I laughed and said, "There's absolutely no way that that's happening because, for one thing, we had the three dogs." And I said I would never leave the dogs. And he actually had asked me, he said, if we ever had to leave Australia, where would you want to go? And I said, "That's crazy. We're not going to leave Australia. What are you talking about?" So it was just kind of weird. It kind of planted the seed in my head, and unfortunately, we started seeing things. We thought we'd be safe in Port Douglas. We thought, oh, they're not going to bother with Port Douglas. It's too hot up here for people to get sick, and we'll be just fine. But that just wasn't the case. Unfortunately, we started seeing weird things. Like all of a sudden, there was a big sign in the main pub, and it said $17,000 fine if you sing or dance. And I was like, oh, wow, this is just crazy. And then we started seeing the headlines of papers. I don't know, it's called a beer slushy.
Beer slushy.
Yeah, it's got tropical, it's frozen
Passion
beer
fruit. Yeah.
and tropical fruit. The heavyweights.
Good.
Okay,
Good.
cheers.
I'll tell you what.
Hello, Peter. Well, as I had been saying, we started to hear rumors of things, and it really wasn't looking good. And one thing that really bothered us a lot. Now, we got to the end of November, and they had locked down the country where Australians could not leave the country. And I thought, wow, this really bothers me. Um, I want to get out of here. This is not good. And we had basically run out of land too. We went all the way up to the top of Australia. The only other thing up there was Cape York. And Peter and I started looking at the possibility of going to Mexico. It was really the only place that we could think of that was sounding easy to get into, and like it had a lot of freedom and absolutely no government overreach, which we thought sounded great. So the trouble is we couldn't get out of the country. And we had made a few nice friends up in Port Douglas, and one of them told me that he had heard of a guy that managed to get out of Australia on compassionate grounds. So, Peter and I thought, well, why don't we just apply for it and see what happens? And if they happen to say yes and grant us this, I can't even remember what it was called, but exemption or whatever it was, then I reckon we should get out of here. So we applied for it, and at the same time, we fast tracked getting our passports, paid double the cost to get them quickly. And I had looked into how we could get our 3 dogs over there. And there was one company called Jet Pets and another called Dog Tainers. And Jet Pets wanted 5,500 Australian dollars to get all 3 of our dogs to Mexico. Or rather, no, that was just to the US, that's right, to Los Angeles. And the other company wanted double the cost. So I ended up having to call Auckland because they never answered their phone. And they got them to call me in Australia. And so we had that all figured out if they came back with a yes answer. And they did, to our shock. We couldn't believe it. So all of a sudden, we were going to leave the middle of January. And I had to book tickets, and it was very, busy making arrangements for the dogs. And we got these cartons for the dogs. And I actually put them in the cartons, built it up to 2 hours a day, where each dog was in his little dog cage so that they'd get used to it for the big trip. And we were going to have to take them in the cargo section of the plane to LA. It would go to Auckland, New Zealand, then to LA. No, actually, originally I booked it direct, that's right. And everything, of course, changed at the last moment. And then we were going to have to buy an extra plane ticket to be able to take the dogs on board the aircraft. You were only allowed 2 with United Airlines. And, we were told by the agent that if we bought a 3rd ticket, they'd let us bring the 3rd dog. So anyway, booked the flight out of Sydney. We were going to have to fly down to Sydney. And of course, everything changed at the last minute. They shut down Sydney Airport. It was horrible. And I had booked an Airbnb in Los Angeles for a night. And Los Angeles, they went into lockdown like 3 days before we left. And I had to do all the tickets all over again. So we had to fly down to Brisbane this time, and the dogs had to go in air cargo 1 day ahead of us because all of the flights were overbooked with people trying to get their animals out. And it really made me nervous sending the dogs to Auckland a day ahead of us. But then they were going to join our plane the next day. So we decided to take the chance. And then we, of course, had to get rid of our car and the caravan, which both sold on the same day. My friends Jenny and Gary, they actually bought the caravan, which was kind of cool. They lived in Cairns. So we were all set. It was pretty amazing and scary at the same time. We only had decided 5 weeks ahead of time that we would just do it. And it was like, well, the biggest adventure of our lives. We really couldn't believe it. I mean, things felt like you were living an episode of The Twilight Zone, seeing everything that was going on. But it was also exciting and, fun and exhausting. So that's what we ended up doing. Um, yeah, we had no idea how Mexico was going to turn out for us. But here we are almost 3 years later, and I'll make a couple more videos to let you know what happened, and also to let you know how our dogs traveled. What happened with that. You can watch the whole thing. There was definitely some hiccups along the way in the traveling, but I'll tell you that in the next episode. But we really loved Australia, and we felt so sad leaving it. I had lived there more than half of my life, most of my life, and Peter, he had grown up here, so it was a big deal leaving. It really was, and well, a lot of mixed emotions. But although we lost everything that we owned really in Australia, and we lost our lives here, we ended up gaining our freedom.
Walking through the forgotten garden. It seems like rain's gonna fall. Leaves are dancing gracefully. I'm in a peaceful state of mind. Sometimes you need to think of what you really want in your life. But sometimes you just need to listen to the voice of your heart.